Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to dive into a question that's been debated for, well, centuries. How in the world do you spot a false prophet? I mean, we are surrounded by spiritual voices, all claiming to have the truth. So how do you tell the difference between what's real and what's just dangerous deception? Let's break down a framework for figuring that out.
So, we kick things off with this really stark warning from the prophet Isaiah. This isn't just about a minor disagreement. It's framing the problem as a serious, dangerous deception. The tale here isn't just a follower, it's a leader, but one who is actively teaching lies and pulling people in the completely wrong direction.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have teachers, leaders, influencers, they're all over the place, all saying they've got the answers. So how do you actually cut through all that noise? This explainer is designed to move past the simple warning and give us, a practical toolkit for testing the things we hear.
To even begin to spot a lie, we have to trace it all the way back to its source. The core idea here is that pretty much every spiritual teaching flows from one of just two places. Picture two different trees, right? Each one has its own roots, and each one produces its own unique kind of knowledge.
Okay, so here's the fundamental contrast. On one side, you have what's called the first Adam. This represents all human knowledge, which is described here as earthly, flawed, and, rooted in a deceitful heart. Then, on the other side, you've got the second Adam. This is divine knowledge from Christ, and it's seen as heavenly, totally true, and life-giving. The argument is that basically every teaching you will ever hear is drawing its water from one of these two wells.
So, you might be asking, why is human-based knowledge considered so unreliable? Well, this verse from Jeremiah really gets to the heart of it. If the source itself, the human heart, is described as deceitful above all things, then how could anything that comes from it be pure? You just can't get pure, uncorrupted truth from a corrupted source. It's impossible.
And this leads us to a really provocative idea, spiritual adultery. Now, this isn't about a physical act. It's about mixing pure divine truth with flawed worldly wisdom. When you accept a seed of information from the wrong tree, from the wrong source, it's considered a really deep spiritual betrayal.
Okay, so if the source of the knowledge is that critical, what about the person who's actually delivering the message? Turns out it's not just about the message itself, it's also about the messenger's authority. And this brings us to the second big test. You have to ask the speaker, who sent you?
You'll start to see a clear pattern with false prophets. First off, they're self-appointed. They send themselves. They speak from their own flawed heart, their own ideas. And often, they deliver a really comfortable message, right? False peace, telling people exactly what they want to hear. But the end result is always the same. They lead people away from God.
Now, a true messenger, they're coming from a totally different place. Their authority isn't something they claim for themselves. It's a divine commission. They are sent. They don't give their own opinions. They faithfully deliver God's message. And a lot of times, that message isn't about easy comfort. It's described as a sword, a truth that's sharp enough to cut through all the falsehood and pull people back to God.
You see, this whole idea of being sent is the ultimate test. It has nothing to do with charisma or popularity or how persuasive somebody sounds. The only thing that truly matters is that divine commission. Christ is held up as the #1 example of this. His authority came not from himself, but from the one who sent him.
So we've got two big tests, the source of the knowledge and the authority of the messenger. But how can we actually see the proof for ourselves? I mean, how do we know? The answer is in the results, the undeniable evidence that's called the fruit.
This biblical principle is really the heart of the test. Words aren't just empty air. They are direct, tangible proof of what's really inside a speaker's heart, of what their true source of knowledge is. You can't hide your source forever, because eventually what's in your heart is going to come out of your mouth.
So here's how you can test the fruit. Just listen to the words. Do they just make you feel comfortable right where you are, or do they challenge you to actually change? Is the focus always on the speaker, on their own experiences, their own importance, or is it constantly pointing you back to God? The end result, whether it's confusion or life, that tells you everything you need to know about the root. But hang on, what about dreams and visions? That's a good question. Even some kind of supernatural experience isn't automatically divine. The test is exactly the same. What's the purpose? Does the dream or the vision bring glory to God? Or does it subtly lift up the speaker and their own personal story? And this brings us to the whole point of all this discernment. It isn't just about avoiding lies or trying to spot fakes. No, the real goal is so much bigger than that. It's about being able to receive the truth in its absolute purest form.
Here we get to the ultimate danger of false teaching. Whether it's on purpose or not, the main effect is that it makes you forget God's name. And the name here isn't just a word, it's not a label. It represents the very character, the nature, and the saving knowledge of God Himself.
So, receiving the name isn't just about learning a new title for God. It's about a complete internal transformation. It's that moment when your flawed human knowledge, your first Adam nature, gets replaced by the divine knowledge of God. That is the ultimate goal of any true spiritual teaching.
At the end of the day, the journey from deception to truth isn't about changing your external circumstances. It's not about finding a new church or following a new list of rules. It is a fundamental, deep internal change in the very root system of your knowledge. We're talking about a complete overhaul of where your understanding and your beliefs actually come from.
And so, this whole thing turns from judging other people to looking at ourselves. It forces us to ask a really tough question. When it's all said and done, what is the true source of what I believe? Is it rooted in the shifting sands of human wisdom, or is it anchored in something eternal? The answer to that question? Well, it changes absolutely everything.